What do you guys think about that new intro? I really like it. I dig it. Even though it's simple, I love where it is. I hope you do too. It's kind of more who I am with the rock music than what we were doing before. Tonight, episode 57, we're gonna have someone that hasn't jumped into the realm of breeding, but has more passion for what he's doing and what his wife is doing than I've seen a lot of people that have been breeding for years. So I'm really excited to have Mr. Phil Thompson of Thompson Cold Blooded on. Uh, lovely Melissa was not home. And I honestly, I kind of wanted to sneak the link to her and see if we could screw with Phil a little bit, but we didn't get there. Maybe next time. There is a possibility of that, even throughout this. So, Melissa, hit me up on Instagram. Let's see if we can play. Let's jump in, say what's up to everybody here, and we'll get this started. What's up, Harsh? Harsh Reptiles. If you guys aren't watching his stuff, he has a live on Instagram every week. Make sure you check it out. It's with this knucklehead who I love nearly or very dearly, Mr. Adler Romero. Jamie, what's going on? Thank you for jumping in. Let me see. Golem, what's up? Golem's Demons. He is also on Harsh's. Well, I guess it's his and Harsh's weekly thing. I think Adler's just the third wheel on that. Let me see. Miss Melissa, the lovely Melissa, here for my husband. I asked him earlier too. I was like, "Do you want to be called Phil or Philip?" And he said, apparently when he moved to Texas, that Phil just stuck. No one wanted to say, "Hey, this name's too long. We're just going to shorten it. We don't want to say Philip. We'll just say Phil." And if you guys can hear, I'm a little under the weather, but we're gonna make this go. Hurry up, Feely. You know what? You guys are right. I'm bad about this, but let's be honest. It wouldn't be an episode that I do if it was on time. We have never started on time. We will probably never start on time. So hey, get your butt in your seats at this specific time when it starts, and just get ready for chaos to ensue, because that's what always happens here. Let's see. Who else? Reclamation. What's up, Albert, aka Lemon Drop? Lorga, all the way from the far east. What is going on, my dude? Brian from Heathen Hatchery. Mindy, what's up? What's up? Love you, sis. Cuddle time. How you doing? Hope all those eggs are doing well. Whoever else comes in, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all for jumping in. Let's get this going, huh? Let's get this going. We're already 4 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about sponsors. I mean, I'm pretty sure Phil's adamant about how he keeps his animals. I'm pretty adamant about how I keep my animals. You got to have the right equipment to keep the animals properly. Here at Outside the Clutch, we're honored to be sponsored by VivTech. Are you ready for innovation? Tired of the same boring product that's been used for 30 years? Ready to give your reptiles and amphibians the UV they really deserve? Then look no farther than VivTech. Their 3-watt LED bulbs provide the UV rays your animals have been missing. With 3 bulbs to fit your pet's climate needs, plus a dimmable feature, it's the only bulbs we use for UV. And it's the only bulb with a 2-year warranty in the industry. Plus now you can monitor all your pet's husbandry from your phone 24/7 with their sensors, and even ship your customers' animals in their custom bags. So what are you waiting for? Go to VivTechProducts.com today, use code FCLUTCH0322 for 15% off, and provide your animals the best care they've ever had. And you got a lot of choices when it comes to the substrate you use. I know people that use cypress. I know people that use paper. I know people that use coconut. But honestly, to me, there's really only one choice.
Are you ready for the best coconut substrate in the game? Then you gotta get ReptiChip. First off, it's America's chip because it's veteran owned. Secondly, why wouldn't you want the best cocoa chip for your animals? Go to ReptiChip.com, use code FeelyChippin for 10% off up to 3 breeder blocks, or your entire order of Easy Hatch trays or any Redline Science equipment on the site. Limit 1 coupon per customer. or reach out to me as a representative in the El Paso area, and don't forget to join the Reptilution, where all profits go to helping those in need within the reptile community.
And finally, Show Me Snake shows. Hey, you got 3 different shows going on this weekend. If you didn't make it to one, hey, you got the chance next weekend. There are multiple shows all over from Texas all the way to the East Coast, all the way down to Florida, all the way up. Uh, find a local Show Me Snake show. Next weekend, we will have our local El Paso show. So if you're in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, northern Texas, and you want to drive, hey, I drive to see y'all. I would really appreciate y'all coming driving out to see me. We're gonna have the local El Paso show, and you also have the Erie, Pennsylvania show. So if you're in the Pennsylvania area, hey, go check out the Erie show. Say you heard about the show from Outside the Clutch. Let them know we sent you. All right, let's get it started. Let's get it started. We've been making Phil wait. We've been making you lovely people wait. And his family's gonna like come after me. I can sense it. Like there's so many Thompsons in the chat right now, and they're like, "Where's Phil at?" So without further ado, we got Mr. Phil Thompson of Thompson's Cold Blooded, or Thompson Cold Blooded. I messed that up. I'm sorry.
It's cool. What's up, man?
How you doing, bro?
Doing well, doing well.
That intro seems to be getting longer and longer. I'm getting long-winded. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad. So let's jump into you. Let's jump into the background. What makes Phil before we jump into the animals that everyone knows and loves you for?
So where do we start? Where I grew up, how I grew up. Let's see.
Yeah,
I grew up in
consummation, however you want to.
Yeah, that's what I don't know if I remember that far back, or if I want to. I grew up in Southwest Oklahoma, a little town called Duncan, Oklahoma, and growing up, I was never allowed to have pets, really, to speak of. But I always loved animals. Man, I was just every book I ever bought was about animals, this, that, and the other. I grew up and moved away for college, and as soon as I left college, man, I was able to have my own place. I just got whatever I wanted, and it started with reptiles. It's probably back in the mid '90s. I I saw a bulletin board flyer, and there was a East Texas Herpetological Society. I moved to Texas at that point. Meeting, and it was at UT Tyler, and I went to it. And there were like professors there and people that uh, took trips to the Amazon and all this stuff, and I was so fascinated in getting to talk to these people and hear all these crazy stories. Uh, and they were a lot of these guys were breeders, and after the little meetings, I could buy reptiles for next to nothing, So, well, before I bought those, not the smartest thing in the world to do, but I was at a flea market, and this guy had a table full of reptiles, and I bought a ball python. And when I got home, I literally had to pick the ticks off of this thing. It was obviously picked up off the ground in Africa, I'm sure. And so it, I read everything I could get my hands on, and I was just fascinated by how to take care of it. The thought of breeding anything never crossed my mind. Uh, of course, you know how ball pythons do, especially a wild caught one. It did not want to eat. After a month, I was in a pure panic, and so I assist fed it, and the thing took off after that, and flourished and let me hold it without acting all crazy, and I was just fascinated. So,
How was that change for you though? Like obviously that's the ultimate stress for us, right? Like we can't get the animal to really move around. We can't get that animal to eat. We could tell something's off. And for knowing in your head, this is probably like a wild caught or maybe F1 at this time
yeah,
period, right?
Yes.
To have that relief that comes in, like,
It
can you
was
just talk about what that was or what that meant for you?
the first time that it ate on its own was just this huge sense of pride that I did it. I'm doing something right. Because I was sitting there checking the humidity every 30 minutes. It seemed like the temperatures, everything, and uh, I went back to the same guy later and bought a Savannah monitor, and I had the typical,
Didn't learn your lessons,
yeah,
Joe.
the typical plug-in hot rock, for that guy. It was a lot of the worst things in the world, but there at the time there wasn't a whole lot to buy to do it the right way,
Right.
uh, at least accessible to me. And so then I started going to these meetings and learning more and buying from these breeders that were there. Of course, I had a corn snake. I rescued from another, or when I say rescued, the guy just didn't want anymore. I got a boa constrictor, just a red tail boa. It was 7 feet long. And that was the big thing in my collection. Uh, I had Pac-Man frogs. I had little skinks, lizards.
Hmm.
I had just a room full of everything. Not everything, but a lot of beginner stuff. And I just, as soon as I would get it, I would order or go find a book that was specifically about that animal, and I'd read it front to back and everything I could get my hands on. At that point, I didn't have access to the internet, and so it was all trying to find. And Reptile magazine, I was reading the full out of those. Um, it was fun and what I always wanted to do, but couldn't when I was growing up. Uh, I just loved it, and I was married, and my ex-wife got pregnant with our youngest. So my reptile room had to turn into a baby room.
Right.
So I had to sell off all of my stuff, and uh, it sucked. But at the same time, we were having a baby, so we needed that room, and so it wasn't like I was missing something. At least I didn't notice that I had so much going on that. Uh, Fast forward a little ways. I met my current wife, Melissa, and that daughter, who's I see over here in the chat, Skylar. She's now getting ready to graduate with her bachelor's here next month, so she's not in the house. So I've got all the room in the world now. But I'd always told these stories to Melissa about how I loved uh, reptiles, and back reading these magazines and reading these books. I always my dream snake back then was a blood python. I loved how they were looked like a giant snake, but they didn't have all that length. I just loved it, and I had never seen one even in person. And this is 5 years ago or something like that, maybe four. Uh, and I was like, "There's a reptile show coming up. Would you like to go check it out?" Mind you, I haven't looked at reptiles other than PetSmart, Petco, getting dog food or something, and since the mid '90s. And she was like, "Yeah, we was just bored one weekend, and we went over to Arlington, and it was NARBC, and literally few steps in the door, there was a table uh, with some bunch of baby blood pythons on there, and I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen one in person." Blah blah blah. So I looked, no intention of buying anything. So I start moving on down, looking, looking, looking. And I turn around, and Melissa wasn't with me, and she was over there buying me the snake. So I was excited, but I didn't. We get home, and I know how blood pythons are, but she had no idea. This was her first reptile she'd had any uh, handling experience with. So I pull out a baby blood python. Of course, it's a spring with teeth, shooting everywhere. And she was like, "Oh," a little nervous. And I was like, You just need to hold a ball python. I said, you'll be cool. You just need to hold a ball python. So fast forward the next weekend or two later, there was another show here in the area, and we went, and there's a guy there holding an adult ball python. I said, do you mind if she holds the snake? And that was all it took. Now, I
Do
always
you
say
think
this to
that's
everybody.
one of the most important things? Like, I feel like you don't see that, and I'll openly admit, like, I take enough animals that I don't let a lot of my like, I choose one animal, and I'll allow one animal out of my rack, or like I'll put it on the side in like a deli cup or something, so that I don't have to worry about everything. But um, do you think that's something that a lot of people, especially since you go to a lot of the bigger shows, you've talked to bigger names in the industry, um, that they're kind of getting away up from, that maybe could be negatively kind of influencing the way we're taking the industry?
Oh, definitely. Hands on. I mean, I've got, for instance, my in laws, when we started getting all these reptiles, that every time they're talking to us, we got this new one. We got this new one. You guys are nuts. We're never coming to your house again. Once they get there, before they leave, everybody's like cool with it. And it's like, it's not what I thought it was. Or they feel so different, and they're just not here to kill me, you know.
Right.
And my sister in law, Annie, is probably sitting there with Melissa right now. She was visiting her, and this past week, she saved her first Texas rat snake and caught it herself, and all because she wasn't scared from being at our house. And I was quite proud of
Awesome.
that moment for her. Uh, yeah,
Cool.
I love. I think I have a. I mean, I know I have a great love and passion for educating people and taking away the stigma that comes along with the snakes. I just I fear at the same time everybody knowing what I have because
No, I
of
understand.
the stigma that goes with the snakes. And it shouldn't have to be that way. Um, just like, everything that's going on now. You try to do everything the right way and they come take it anyway.
Right. That's a good segment into one of the things that you're very much so involved with. One of the things that you said you wanted to make sure that we talk about this evening, and that's the fight going on right now, especially with some of the species that you have. They are actually, I would say, the majority of what we see of your collection, anyways. Um, they're very much so watched after animals, right? Whether it
Yes.
be your retics or that beautiful, beautiful Eastern indigo that I can't wait to get my hands on one day. Um, there's so many things that we could bring up, but USARK and USARK Florida are doing their best to fight the complete overreach of the FWC right now. Them pushing out and slaughtering animals that had no reason to be slaughtered, where everyone was following the rules as instructed by the FWC, and they were supposed to be being held for evidence. So I don't know why you kill evidence. That's in my head. So now you can't take this person to trial. You can't do any of that because there's now no evidence. But that's not here or there. So what are some of your thoughts on the FWC, the way that they've been handling things, like removing all of the comments that we in the industry are putting on, or the way they're trying to cover up, or even the Inside Edition story where it heavily favored the FWC versus what they have done wrong?
Uh, from the get go, I don't understand why the FWC has any say so over what a private keeper of not wild animals has any jurisdiction over. It makes no sense to me. If somebody's keeping an animal correctly, humanely, and what does the FWC have to do about it? Most of these animals are morphs. They wouldn't live in the wild. They wouldn't be able to. You know, an albino Burmese python isn't going to make it to adulthood more than likely. I just that first off doesn't make any sense to me. The the absolute circle and runaround they're giving all of these legal keepers to where they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance at getting it right. There is no getting it right. They just want to dispose of their animals and make an example out of them. And everybody's running in fear, trying to do the right thing or keep their butts out of jail. And when they've tried all along to do things by the book, and they register, they microchip, they keep them in locked cages, do everything by the book, and everything. I mean, it's never right. They call and ask, well, what do we need to do to make it right? They get no response. I'll have to get back to you. And they never get back to them. It's just a complete runaround, and it's criminal, if you ask me.
No,
Or
I
so on
agree.
their part.
100%. 100%. And I think the big thing that we should be saying about that, so like there were Burmese, right? And he was told, I forget exactly how it is. There was a group that could not be sold because they were evidence against Mr. Coffee, right? And then there was a group of retics, as you said, there were morphs within those retics. Retics, while they are on one of the lists in Florida, were not on the
Prohibited species.
the prohibited species. So you could have them, and you were supposed to be grandfathered as long as they were microchipped and everything that Mr. Coffee had gone through, right? So that's just showing, hey, if you look at the majority of the states now, like let's forget FWC for 2 seconds, which is horrible to say because I think we really need to bear down on them. But forget FWC for 2 seconds. Look at what the way that they fight and the way that they do things has transferred to other states that we love and see. We're seeing a lot in North Carolina. We're seeing a lot in Georgia. We're seeing a lot in moving up to even Maine and New England,
Which is extremely
which
ridiculous.
is ridiculous. None of the animals, like if you look at the Everglades, it is just the tiniest speck in Florida where these are invasive. And
they said they're not even
once you get to northern Florida, it gets too cold.
Yeah, and they said there's not any retic populations breeding.
Right.
They're not invasive, but they fall underneath that category, and they keep saying they're invasive when they are not.
Well, it's like the tegus as well. Like the tegus aren't going to survive a winter, but every southern state seems to have almost knocked out tegus. But if you're seeing it in the southeast right now, so and running up to the northeast, what do you think is going to happen? It's just going to continue pushing west.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in every state. So we have to definitely ensure that it gets stopped before it gets worse. And one of the ways that we can do that while Phil continues to speak on his feelings is to make sure you go support USARK. And I'm going to run through it right now while he continues to talk. So super simple, main page.
Okay. Well, I just would like everybody to get involved. It's free. If you want to help USARK Florida, it is free to get a membership. The numbers help. The more numbers we have on there, the more we're likely to be heard. And the more likely we finish these guys and shut them down, the less likely it's going to spread across the country. If we can get it stopped there, nobody's going to piggyback and some representative is going to say, find this talking point and say, oh, they got this done here. I'll get it done here. And right now, it's a big shit show, and I don't think anybody's going to want that in their state if we can just keep the pressure on them. Nobody's going to want that kind of pressure on them because everybody's messaging, everybody's flooding their message boards, their emails, and keep the pressure on FWC and the governor. And I feel like we can really win this one.
I agree. I hope that we see a turn in the government here. I hope that everyone's prepared to help out. So here's the one thing that I will say. The last time that USARK, Florida, anyone had to go up against a major bill, a major fight, right? The industry came together, and we're seeing it happen, and I hope it continues to happen. We all need to jump in on this. That initial start took them $1 million just to start the process. So I completely agree. Like, show numbers, show the membership, jump on the free membership if you can't help, but if you can, there's even a monthly membership of only $3 a month. Like, spare yourself 2 freaking Starbucks or whatever a month, and there you go. Or even, yeah, like $3 is like no, I'm sorry. So $3 is like less than half of what a Starbucks costs you for most places. I knew what I wanted to say. It didn't come out right. But anyways, so just jumping into that simple. Stop drinking coffee for a day and support USARK Florida. Hey, go over to USARK, support USARK. It's very simple, usark.org. Click on the memberships, jump down there. Basic memberships, $40 a year. Like, it's really nothing if we think about it, and it helps us keep what we want. It helps the responsible keepers keep what they want, as long as you are doing it in the right manner.
Take this opportunity to teach your friends and family. You know, they can do the same thing. If they don't want to contribute monetarily, they can at least be one of the members. Hopefully they will as well.
Absolutely. So let's jump into more of happiness. So you've kind of been in and out of reptiles a few times now.
Yeah.
Been around reptiles for definitely the majority of my life, but I would say the majority of your life as well at this point. What are some of the other things you did before you really jumped down and dived in? Like, there's a specific thing that we were talking about before. I don't know how far deep you want to go into that. I don't know if we want to save like
we can say, I mean, like,
kids' ears or what's.
Well, while I was in college, I threw discus for a year at college, and so I was in the athletic dorm, and I'm with all these big football players, and they were all my friends, and they're like, "Hey, we work for this guy doing security for celebrities and bands when they come to town. You be interested in going?" And I was like, "Heck yeah," you know. So honestly, the first show I ever did was Steve Miller, the Steve Miller Band, and so I showed up, and the guy that owned the company, he gave this speech. I found out later watching him to everybody that was a first timer, and he's this massive, probably 6'6" dude, just yoked, man. And he's like, "I don't care if Jesus himself comes up to you and wants to get backstage. You're here to protect them. Jesus doesn't get backstage without a pass." And so it was like, "Okay, I got you. I understand." So we didn't work in the crowd. We worked specifically with the artist. So I'm backstage, my first show, just getting this speech from this big bad dude, and they're like having a birthday party for somebody, and it was an amphitheater, so it was outdoors, and having a birthday party, and all the band and crew are back there celebrating, and I see this guy by himself, and he's got on brown corduroy pants and a Steve Miller shirt. And I was like, "This is some fan that snuck back here. Time to do my job." So I go walking over there trying to looked big and bad, and I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Sir," and he turns around and it's Steve Miller. I was like, "Never mind, you're good to go." So I almost kicked Steve Miller out of his own concert. If I hadn't known who he
Oh,
was, it might not have been very pretty.
Did you make sure after that moment that you kind of ran through and like, okay, let me get a picture of who each artist is?
Well, I've seen. I was getting my speech while they were sound checking, so I didn't get a good look at all of them. So yeah, I kind of. You don't disturb them, and you don't speak unless spoken to. So it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of hard. You got your little area that you're in charge of. So that was just one of the funny stories. And I was telling you about the only time I've been to El Paso. So we got hired. We were like in the top 3 companies in the country that did what we do. We were really good at keeping the artists safe and people from sneaking backstage and this, that, and the other. Uh, I went to Las Cruces, New Mexico when Guns N' Roses and Metallica toured together. And we were there for a few days beforehand because they had to set up huge stadium, getting all set up and protecting the band and this, that, and the other. So we had a free night the first night we got there. And a bunch of these guys, you got to imagine all these big steroid guys, they wanted to go party. And so they're like, "We're going to go to El Paso and go over to Juarez." And I was like, so my boss gives us another speech. He was like, "Look, don't take any of your backstage passes. Don't take anything related to the band." He goes, "Because the cops will kidnap you because they think you have money and we won't come get you." So I'm already I'm like my
You're
second
already
year at
washing
college,
them.
and I was a little nervous already. So we get over there and start having a good time, and this girl tries to pickpocket one of the guys. And of course, like I said, he's a big roided out looking dude, and he's like losing his mind. And we calm him down, and they're looking like they want to fight. And I was like, "Look, I'm not going to Mexican jail." I walked my butt back across the border, and I like laid on a bench on the U.S. side until they got ready to come back because I was not going to jail in Mexico. Uh, the only
What
other
was so in that time period, who would you say your favorite artist to kind of watch over was, and what really stands out from that artist versus the other ones that you've worked with?
uh, just from seeing somebody be nice, I wouldn't say it was my favorite that I worked, but just being nice. I saw Garth Brooks. Uh, a lady was working with a caterer carrying ice chest, a big ice chest. He was like, "Man, you don't need to be carrying that." And he unloaded all the food, helping them carry an ice chest. Just genuinely nice and keeping a lady from carrying a heavy ice chest. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, I've heard multiple stories about that guy. Just to be fair,
Yeah.
I've heard from some people he's a major. Uh, we'll say a c word.
Oh,
And then I've heard from some people that he's one of the nicest guys ever. So
that was a short experience I saw just watching. I had some bad experiences with uh, Michael Bolton and the bass player for Def Leppard, but uh,
the divas.
yeah, but more than that, it was
I grew up on. Is it Michael Bolton's like the older jazz love song guy, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
My
didn't
mom
know the
used to
kind of
love his music.
scraggly,
Yeah. Like
scully
that
looking hair.
what was it? Georgia's on my mind and stuff. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. Old school
Um,
songs, man. I think Butterfly Kisses was one of the ones he did too, which is funny because that's so he didn't start it, but Butterfly Kisses is the song that I sing to my daughter every night for bed.
That's cool.
But I very much so remember them.
Would you like to sing that
What's
for us now?
No, I will not. You don't wanna hear this singing voice. Like, you're gonna have to get me another growler of Earl's Moonshine to get me to sing. It doesn't happen in public very often.
I thought I'd
I
give you
I
the
have to be
opportunity,
pretty
man.
liquored up. Uh, so you said Michael Bolton was kind of a pain in the butt, the bassist from Def Leppard. What's one of the stories from your time in security that just minus almost kicking the artist out of their own show?
There
What's
was
one of those memories that'll never leave you?
one that was really cool that actually almost happened. Uh, there was a big incident in Houston with the Black Crows, and they walked out of a concert because their security was roughing up the crowd there. So they brought us in from Oklahoma to do security down there. And it was like they had a press conference and all this stuff. We've flown the best security guys in to do this, blah, blah, blah. So we get in, and the concert is going on, and I'm standing beside the stage, you know, and this lady is waving at me. And so I go over there to see what she needs. And she goes, "Would you be interested in doing an interview?" I said, I'm not supposed to without talking to my boss, but an interview for who? And she said, Rolling Stone magazine. And I was like, do what? And she was like, I work for Rolling Stone magazine. Would you like to do an interview? And I was like, sure, but I'm going to get the okay before I do this. And so I go to my boss, and he was like, absolutely not. We're not talking to them. There's too much controversy going on right now in the country. I can't let you get up there and say something that's not going to happen. Who is she? And I was like, that girl over there. And he's like, okay, I'll make sure she doesn't talk to anybody else. And fast forward 2 months later, Rolling Stone magazine comes out. James Hetfield from Metallica is on the cover of it. And I see this thing there, and it says, why all the recent incidents with concert security in the country, blah, 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 all this stuff. And we talked to people to find out. And I open it up, and there's my boss that did the interview
Oh, he
with the
stole
lady.
your moment of
And,
fame.
I was so sad that I didn't get to be in Rolling Stone magazine.
Dude, etched in rock history. That's jacked up. That's jacked up. So let's bring the music to the animals.
Okay.
What made you dive back in the way that you did after your daughter decided to give you a little peace, go to school, do something with her life?
Well, I kind of jumped ahead earlier after we got the blood python. That day that Melissa held the ball python, she bought one that day, and that was kind of end of story right there. She was hooked. She's an animal person as well, and I think I want to say she bought at least a dozen in the next few months, and I kind of had to say, "Whoa, hey, if you're going to do this, you're talking about like breeding numbers here." I said, "At least let me put something together so they could at least pay for their food or something. We can make this.
But like honestly, like let's be honest here. Could you say no to this face? Oh,
Could I say?
it didn't share. Dang it. Hold on. There we go. Could you say no to that face?
I have plenty of times. Let's put it this way: I had to swing her away from a Aldabra while we were at the fall chimney. She was determined to get a Aldabra, and I was like, "You're traveling right now for work. I don't want to do this every day. I don't want an Aldabra to take care of every day. When you come home, then we can do that."
And what's she do now? Because I know she's
Sh
always on the road.
Well, she was working here in town, and she decided she was getting a little stale with her job. She wanted to go on the road traveling. Works in a heart cath lab, They do like the whole angioplasty stents, where people have heart attacks or try to prevent heart attacks, all of that stuff. And
So I need to have her number on speed dial
sure, yeah,
for
she
my
can.
stress levels at Arlington. Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure she is always home during. No, I'm just kidding.
But
Might be needed, Miss Melissa.
so she's gone on the road and she's visiting all of the places. I'm kind of jealous that I've always wanted to go. Uh, she went to, what is that, Reptile World or whatever, and I think it was South Dakota or something like that. Twin Cities Reptile up there, and I guess that's St. Paul.
Mhm.
She worked for 3 months in Pittsburgh, so she was at Garrett's all the time, getting to hang out. It's it's I mean, it's pretty cool gig.
Is it nice to live vicariously through your wife now?
I'm glad she gets to have a good time because it's not always good
Reptile.
being gone. And Reptile Gardens, she just said it. Yeah, it wasn't Reptile World, Reptile Gardens.
So you jumped into ball pythons really heavy, and then she
Yeah,
said, "Hey, I got
she
all
goes.
these animals. I'm kind of bored at
I
home. Let me take a traveling job real quick. Make sure you take care of my babies."
oh, the traveling job has only been in the last 9 months or so. The couple of years before that, it was just, oh, I want one of those, and I want one of those. I am definitely the voice of reason, but most of the time she still turns up with things. But she wanted a mainland retic. That was her thing. They're just gorgeous. I was like, absolutely not. I will not do a mainland retic. I just love them. I love those big snakes, and I really want one, and they're awesome. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to be the one that's cleaning up that poop, and I don't want to do that.
You don't want to
And
shovel poop as big as you?
no, I do not.
Oh.
And anyway, long story short, I finally said, okay, watch these videos, and it was, of course, Garrett's videos, and I was like, if you like these, they're retics, but they're not going to get as big. They still get big, but I will compromise, and you can get one of those. Well, she got it, and I don't know if you've seen Garrett's when he sends you an animal,
Right.
the packaging, and it's a whole experience, man. You open it up, and it's very cool. It was so cool that I was snake and make sure it was okay and put it back in there so she could have the same experience and open it up for the first time. Uh, got that snake, and well, Garrett, when I sent him a message saying I was interested, I was at work one day and my phone rang and I didn't recognize the number. Said Pittsburgh, and I didn't think nothing about it, so I just ignored it. And then I had a voicemail said, "Hey, Phil, it's Garrett Hartle over here at Reach Out. If you would give me a call back, I want to talk to you about some snakes." And it was just cool to get that personal service and talk and uh, get put together with the animal that we wanted. And I got it, and I'd never held anything like it before. Uh, it wanted to be where it was at instead of being unsure that how the ball pythons will ball up and things like that. It was
Right.
just different, and the intelligence that I could see in its eyes, and this, that, and the other, and I immediately, like 2 weeks later, called him back and I said I want a female, and so ended up getting a female, and this is what got me, and this is a good story. We get this female, and that was the original one right there. That was the original one that was sent to us.
I like how you created a gym for it too.
Yeah,
Super important. I love that.
and this gym comes into play here with this story. So when I got her, I wanted to take some pictures of her, and so I was trying to put her down, and this snake literally fought me to stay on my arm and would not let go. And every time I tried to put her, I was trying to put her on a stair rail, tried to put her on the ground. She did not. I want to be with you. I was a safe place, I assume. Uh, it it was a really cool experience that she wanted to be with me, and she really like. I don't want to say love. I don't know if they have that emotion or not,
Right.
but uh, I was a safe place, and she knew that. She grew, and she's always that one has been my baby. Now, to the little jungle gym thing, I would put her on it, and we have a game room upstairs, and I have a love seat up there, and I had it sitting in front of the love seat, and there's a coffee table there, and it's love seat, coffee table, then the gym. And I would put her on it, and as long as I stood there at the jungle gym, she'd crawl all around it, do all the stuff, make her way around it, and was cool. If I leave, she would watch me walk around the jungle gym, cross the coffee table, and sit in the love seat. As soon as I got still, she would come off the jungle gym, crawl under the coffee table across, get in my lap, and stay there.
That's freaking awesome, man.
It was amazing, and I am so attached to that snake. I would be devastated if anything happened to any of my animals, but that one, I would be so devastated. She is so cool.
You've gotten the opportunity to really dive in more. We're gonna. I can't believe I'm gonna talk about ball pythons tonight. We're gonna wait for that. Sorry, we're not going there.
Okay.
We will. I shouldn't say we're not going there. We're gonna talk about your ball pythons because it's part of your babies.
Mhm.
But I'm really interested in the other stuff because you have quite the I don't even want to say eclectic. Um, you have a very diverse collection without being a breeder, without pushing anything. Um, there's so many things that have captivated you, which I find amazing. You that's freaking so cute.
The in that area, the one thing that is kind of one of the diamonds of my collection, I would have never thought I would have owned that right there. Uh, Melissa had a couple of hognose uh, snakes, and I don't know if you know. Help me out, Melissa. Where did you get that snow hog at? Um. Anyway, we went to the guy's house to pick up this hognose, and I had checked out. She had set it all up. I checked out his page, and I saw that. I was just took a quick glance, and I was like, "That's either a Gila or a beaded lizard." So when we got there, I was like, "I saw on your page that maybe you have a Gila or a beaded lizard." I said, "Can I see it?" And he was like, "I have both. I have 13. What do you want to see?" I was like, "I really want to see a Gila." Now, this goes back to when I was a little kid. My grandmother's friend worked at a Western store, and I used to go in, and while she would talk to her friend, there was an advertisement for these Tony Lama boots, where the it's a like a painting,
Mm.
and the guy's got a he's fencing, got barbed wire fence pliers or whatever. He's reaching down to like grab a Gila biting his boot, and I've been fascinated by Gilas ever since that painting when I was little, like say 5, 6 years old. And so every time I went to a zoo, I always wanted to see the Gilas. And so we go to his house to pick up this hog nose, and he gets one out and just hands it to me. I am holding a Gila, which you know, I'd seen Earl's video with people coming over and holding them this, that, and the other, and I'm holding one, and that was just the greatest feeling. I took pictures, and it was like one of the highlights of my life holding a Gila for the first time. And it wasn't long for my birthday, and Miss Melissa calls up Stuart Tennyson, is who it was. you about see Stu's Herps at Arlington or whatever. That's who it was. Anyway, and talks him out of his keeper baby that he had there. He had all of them in racks, but he had one that was special baby that was there. He had it to show in a terrarium, whatever. And she talked him out of it, and she got it for me for my birthday. And so I came home on my birthday from work, and she goes, "There's a surprise for you, and pull out one of the empty bins, and there in a little enclosure was a baby Gila in there. And so I've had him, her, not exactly sure. We've talked with Earl, and we think it's a girl, but we still need to ultrasound to find out. But we named it Lemmy.
So
it kinda goes away.
Are you working with Earl to kind of get some mentorship on that, or are you working with
I've talked with Earl about it. We had talked maybe breeding at some point because he has a definite male. I think he got rid of the rest of his that he had.
Right.
But it's I've talked with Stu if I had any questions. I of course was already on all the Gila pages and read books before I ever had one, so I knew a lot about how to take care of one. And it's really pretty easy. He is the coolest guy, man. I've got him to where he's like a puppy dog. Done some things I probably shouldn't a lot. As far as giving a little bit too much trust, I'm always make sure to get my mind right before I handle him. But I always held with gloves, and I started probably the last 2 times holding him without gloves. But I shouldn't do that. So
You get Earl to yell at you.
yeah. Well, I won't tell you what Earl called the gloves when I told him I used gloves.
Oh, I already know. So let's talk about all of it a little bit, though. Like you feed a very diverse group of snakes. Are you primarily doing just like, especially with like the Gila? So we know they can eat like smaller rodents, but they're primarily egg eaters.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a bunch of other species that could definitely benefit from diversity. Is there something that you're doing different than most with like just throwing rodents at them, or are you primarily rodents right now?
Primarily rodents. I give chicks and quail as well, and I get quail eggs occasionally for the Gila. It's really been shocking. He prefers the chicks and quail and mice over the eggs. And everything that I've ever heard has been the opposite. They love eggs. They're just crazy over the eggs. And it took him a while to show any interest, and sometimes he doesn't even fool with them. So I try to give variety to everybody, especially the indigos, because they're garbage disposals, man.
Voracious.
I have to watch it because I've got a couple of animals, of course, everybody does, that won't turn down a meal. If somebody doesn't eat, you can always count on them to take it down so nothing goes to waste. But I got to watch those indigos, man. They'll eat and keep coming back. Then got to watch myself too. I can reach in and get them, and they don't try to bite you. They're very smart, but much like the reed ticks, at feeding time, it's like the brains go out, and it's go time, man.
Are you pushing like a frozen thawed with them, or what?
Everything is frozen thawed. The only time I ever feed live is if I have a difficult ball python. So everything else we eat frozen thawed.
I'm gonna throw out a kind of a tip. I forget how long ago you did this, but I don't know if you do it. Riley Jemison. He works a lot with Crebos, and one of the things he does for enrichment of Crebos is he puts their frozen thawed around in different spots, or like sets up almost like a puzzle for them, so they have to use their brain, right? And that's one of the things he learned for enrichment while he was working as a zookeeper as well. So are you doing things like that? Is that something that you want to try, or is there like
I would love to try that. I've watched videos of indigos. They put it's like a puzzle, and they put little bits of chicken or fish, and every door opens differently, and it looks like a board game almost. And they go through there, and it took the indigo, I think, 13 minutes to figure out how to open 12 different doors.
holy crap?
It was insane, and they're smart animals. But I love them. I'm one of my animals that I don't have, which I don't need any more different species, but can't help myself. I want a black-tailed Crebo so bad I can hardly stand it.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
To me, it's as close as I'm going to come to owning a king cobra. They have that look to me, and
I feel you. That's one of the things I talked about. So me and Riley, when he produced, I think like 2 years ago, it's like, man, when those babies are ready, I really want to jump on it. And then I expanded into a professional rack and like took up the other half of the room. And then I looked at it. I was like, I have a retic on one end. If I put a Crebo on the other, I'm gonna have no safe zone in this entire room because it's only a 10-foot wide room. But no, I feel that. I'm trying to be responsible and understand I only have so much room to work in and not to go crazy.
We're trying not to take out any guest rooms. we have 2 guest rooms now. That's just me and my wife. We have a snake room, and downstairs she has a gecko tarantula room.
Okay.
So we've got mostly New Caledonian species of gecko and tokays. She loves the attitude of the tokays, little velociraptors. She's like, we have all of these animals that I should be afraid of. The only animal that I fear that we have is a tokay gecko. when we have 4 tokay geckos, and when we were moving after we built our house, I was in a hurry moving stuff, and I didn't want to get bit, so I put on a leather glove, and I just reached there and grabbed the big guy that we have, and he latched onto that glove, and when I went to put him up, he wouldn't. I could not get him to let go. I literally had to take the glove off and put him in the glove in the container to move him, and I can't remember whether he still had. I don't think he still had a hold of it when we got here and got him set up, but man, it was just so funny.
There's something else, man. That's one I haven't braved yet. I know there's days where my female lychee is very easy to work with, and there's days where she's just like, I don't want you to touch me. I don't want you to look at me. I don't want you to do anything. She starts flinging stuff everywhere. But
we got a male lychee, and he's really cool. When we got him, of course, he was little bitty, and he looked like a little rock to me. So I named him Dwayne the Rock Thompson. But he is super cool. He doesn't.
Who'd you pick your lychee up from?
It was a local guy. I couldn't even tell you his name. He pops up every now and then on Craigslist and has a couple of lychees for sale. And he had the right price, so I went and checked it out. And he seemed like it was just one of those things, one of those one-offs. We got a lot of those one-offs, you know. We've got 2 cresteds. We've got 4 tokays. We've got 1 lychee, 1 saracenorum, 1 gargoyle, and we got a croc skink from Earl. Seems like I'm missing something. Oh, we got 1 chihuahua.
Just one.
So
Just one.
just
Is
one.
there ambition to jump into that other stuff and breed it,
No,
or is it just
not really.
I want
It's
this
just
one?
to me. Well, those are Melissa's babies. There, she loves it, which I love them too. I like figuring out how to take care of different species and have them happy and healthy. That's what I like. And it was never my intention to breed from the start, and that may be why I'm so cautious about. I think we have 25 ball pythons, and uh, we have several. We have a black exanthic project. We have lavender project, lavender confusion. Uh, I know I'm missing some. Thinking about recessives here. We've got pied. We've got clown. Some high end stuff from high end breeders, and right now I love them, but I haven't made up my mind that I want to be a ball python breeder.
What do
So
you think's kind of contributing to that
the fact that
hesitation? Because you've been around for a while,
yeah,
twice now. So, what do you think? It is it just
mine
um,
is I don't want to breed just to make money off of them. I don't want to breed just for the sake of saying I can breed them. I know I can. I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into it. The first year that they came able to breed, I did pair up a bunch of them, and it was not long after we moved, so I think they were all messed up from the move because they all went from uh small little racks or enclosures. I bought a freedom breeder rack, and I thought, oh, they're going to be happy now, this, that, and the other. And after that year, I was like, you know what? I'm not sure. I had a lot of frustration too with feeding, you know. So I get over here and I don't like fooling with the lives. Uh, that always seems to get everything lined back out. But frozen thawed, frozen thawed, frozen thawed. I don't want a frozen thawed. About half of them stop eating all of a sudden. So then I have to go get a bunch of lives and eat, and some of them won't even eat alive, and it's just back and forth and back and forth, and it makes me feel like I'm failing, and I don't like that.
no, I feel it. I feel it.
But
That's
they're all thriving. They're all doing well. I just uh, I feel like my passion changed when we got the retic. I just it just sucked me in, and I can't explain it. I'm happy there.
you're a better man than me because honestly, knowing that you have a pair of indigos and knowing that they're growing up, I it would take everything in me to probably not try to breed those.
Oh, I will try to breed those.
Like there's yeah, I don't blame you. Like that's
Yeah.
like a pinnacle animal, and the fact that you have a breeding group to do it now is just like, and that's what really got me excited. Like I remember trying to find the exact picture, but I remember when you posted about your indigo not too long ago, and I was like, it might have been in a story, in all honesty,
Mm-hmm.
where you posted about the indigo, and I was just like, I never even freaking knew you had one. Like, why aren't we talking, sir? What's going on here?
That was another one.
It's just, of
When
course.
I was going to the in the '90s, going to the Herp Society meetings, uh, I went for a meeting, and the guy giving the presentation that day was an indigo breeder. He was like, I don't know if they weren't uh, uh, in trouble then or whatever, what their classification was, but he was traveling around, you know, doing basically Herp Society meetings about his indigos, and he pulls this big black male out, and I was in just you just look at it and it's like, oh, it's just. But I thought there's no way I'm ever going to own this, never even, I heard about the story about them and how they're in a little bit of trouble. And I was like, I'll never own one of those, blah, blah, blah. But fast forward to Melissa and I being together, I always told the story about the snake, about how amazing it was. And it just, when he held it up at that meeting, I was like, that is the snake. If I ever saw one, I said, the hard part is we got to find one that's bred in state. And, if you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of getting your permits to have them shipped across state lines. And we were walking at Arlington, and we rounded a corner, and I wasn't even looking as usual. I'm focused on something else. She goes, I don't know what that is, but we're leaving with one. And they had pulled out their big black indigo and was holding it up. And I was like, they're probably just showing off. They probably don't even have one for sale. And went around there, and it was two guys. One of the guys, they were buddies, had leopard geckos, and Ricky Wheeler was set up with him, and he had a few indigos there, and he was, a couple of people were looking real serious. And I had one picked out. It was the best one looking one there, baby, and it was a male. No, it was a female, and because I knew it. Of course, I'd read all about them. I knew it takes them longer to breed. I need to get a female first so it gets older, and maybe the next year I'd get a male from this guy. And so come up, and we talked about it, and she was like, I think we should do it. We've never seen one. We've been to all these shows. We've never seen one. It's like, So we go walking over there, and Bob Clark walks up. And I was like, oh, shit, that's Bob Clark. And she was like, we'll take it, because he had the one in his hand looking at it that we were interested in. And she said, we'll take it. So we ended up getting that female. And it was just as awesome as I expected it to be. And I don't even mind the smelly crap that comes from them. They're just, the whole dry mark on name means Lord of the Forest, and that's the way it feels. You got these, like holding a steel cable, man, and you got these big, shiny, iridescent scales. And both of mine are red face, so I love that red chin, and I'm sure, I don't know if you can see the tattoo, but it's
Do it again.
you can see the head here. I can't figure out. There we go. It's healing. I mean, I literally just last Saturday had this worked on. So, and a year later, he goes by, if you're ever at Arlington, he goes by Indigo Black now, and he specializes in dry mark on. He had I was already on the waiting list, so I got a female from him, and no, male. I'm sorry, from an unrelated pair. So I was excited.
So if there was, you've got quite the amount of species now. If there was a specific species, I'm going to show this just because this is a gorgeous picture, and it needs to be seen if people haven't seen it yet. That's a beautiful picture. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with them. Like that's
my little male.
It's beautiful,
and that doesn't do justice to how red he is either. Looks, that light kind of washes him out a little bit.
So if there was a species now, because you've had the opportunity to hit some of the pinnacle animals, some amazing animals within the industry, what do you think something that you have not worked with that you would really like to see yourself jump into within the next couple of years?
Of course, Boland's Python is up there.
Okay.
I still would love a Crebo, which is still dry mark on. So I feel like I still have that experience, even though it's a different color and looks a little different. But the Bolands, Lucas, and going over to
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say
The whole green tree thing. My wife is crazy about those guys. I don't like how fragile they are, but God, they're gorgeous, man. Uh, I don't know. The wife really wants one, so I expect sooner or later there'll be one sitting around here
whether
looking
you
really
want it
cool.
or not. You're
Yeah.
yeah.
uh, I'm really happy where I'm at as far as the species we got and the things that I want to move forward with. Uh, Now, if I was to get into hots, which I have no intention of doing, I love the main shins.
Oh,
I think
gorgeous.
those guys are awesome. Love those things. Uh, I feel like I'm missing something. Now, if we could move out and have, this big, huge farm and big, huge warehouse that I could put whatever I wanted, I would have a mainland as well. If I had all that, maybe I could pay somebody to scoop crap.
So
Uh,
no ambition of monitors or any lizards, huh?
oh, of course, you know who is really wanting a peacock monitor. Uh, she loves those things. I like them. Uh, I had my experience with the Savannah one when I was younger. It was okay. It wasn't. I wasn't just enamored by it, but it was cool to say I had a
I
monitor.
get that.
Uh,
A lot of work too. Like
yeah,
I think
yeah.
people see
Oh,
those little 5 second, 15-second reels, and they're like, "Oh, it must be so easy to take care of them." They don't realize what they do constantly all day.
yeah, that and the type of heat they gotta have. It's, Uh, black-headed pythons. Love those. Split Rock always has those exanthics, and I don't think those are out of this
Oh,
world.
it's so hard, man. Like I remember when Corey grabbed her first pair. I was like, "I'm gonna do it one day. I'm gonna freaking do
Uh,
it one day." And I walked by every Arlington, and I'm just like, "If I make enough sales, I'm going home with a pair. If I don't, I'm not getting anything."
so Corey
And then
talked
I
me
always
out
end
of
up
one.
buying another ball python instead. But one of these days,
I
I'm
had
gonna
the money
pull it.
raring to go, and I was talking to Corey and Split Rock. This was in the Herp Show in Conroe. Split Rock was set up there, and he had them all out there. And I sat there and talked to him half the day, and I had made up my mind which one I wanted. And I went and talked to Corey, and she was like, "You're really into those super dwarf retics now." And I was leaving, flying the next or driving the next weekend to go to Garrett's house for the first retic fest. She goes, "You know you're going to get there and see something you want." She goes, "What if that money you spend on that blackhead is a difference in what you want?" She goes, "At least wait till you go to Garrett's first before you buy this blackhead." And I was like, "You're right. Melissa wasn't there. She was the voice of reason for me." and so, of course, we ended up getting a snake when we were at Garrett's.
Right.
And
I don't blame you. There's a reason I stay off of the retic section in Morph Market or away from Dax and Taylor's table. I'm allowed 5 minutes to go say hi and give hugs and walk away. That's all
yeah,
my wife allows because
there's
she
a.
knows I will come home with something else.
Oh, I love Dax and Taylor. They're so awesome. Uh, so I was with Duran. Do you know Duran?
Mhm. I
And
love his target technique. It's one of the
yeah,
things I want to talk to him more about.
I was with Duran and Lucas, and it was when Lucas got his ocelot, and we were walking at Arlington, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw. Well, if I go back to the first retic fest, Garrett was holding a snake, and I was like, "What is that?" And I knew it was a retic. He said it's a Halmahera, and I was like, it was so dark, and I was like, "Oh, I love this. And he said, yeah, they're pretty hard to find. He goes, I went for years. I saw one a long time ago, and I went for years and never saw one. And anyway, he'd got one, and so left, thought I'd never see one again. So out of the corner of my eye, walking past DNT's booth that day, I saw Halmahera, and I just turned away. I was like, don't even look. Don't even look. Just keep going. So went to another show. They were there. Saw Halmahera, and I wouldn't talk to them because I didn't want to see that snake.
Right.
And so we went to, it was another herp show. I think it was in Waco, and Melissa was with me. And we were walking by Dax and Taylor. She goes, Halmahera. So we ended up having to stop, and she was like, I think we should get it. I think we should get it. We're never going to see another one. And I was like, this is exactly why I haven't stopped at y'all's booth talk here recently, because I didn't want to do this. I try to be, not jump at every little squirrel that runs by, you know. But I love that thing. That thing's awesome. And so dark. So dark.
So I'm gonna start the survey. So everyone in the comments right now that thinks that Melissa should get her Aldabra, go ahead and just give me a wavy hand or a hands up or a big clap or a hey Phil, give in. No, there's so many good people, and they're like, one of the hardest things to do, I think, is, especially when you start jumping into multiple species, right, is like you always have that one that has your fascination and you love and you always go back to it, but the want to always expand and always do more and find new species to work with and then test out this. I was gonna make a really bad comment, but oh Lord, I'm sorry. It's one of the hardest things for us to do, right? It's like I currently work with, I believe it's 8 species, whether it be gecko, snake, lizard, what have you, right? But I remember when I first came in, like my first year back, I think maybe the second year, I jumped up to 13 different species right off the bat, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't keep these right." And I just started wigging out, and I started having all kinds of issues. And finally, I brought it down to like, okay, these 8 I know how to manage. They're fairly similar, minus my colubrids. My MBKs are a pain in my butt. It's the only thing I have that like lives in this area, which is funny. Like all the stuff that lives in my area is what I have the hardest time keeping. My entire house is set up for like Papua New Guinea and Indonesia and stuff like that. But
one species that I haven't talked about that I have really enjoyed is another one of those things that Melissa was crazy over, is we have a pair of children's pythons, and they are so cool. Not expensive, if you ask me, makes a great first snake. They eat like maniacs, man. But you know, tap them, they're good to go, easy to handle. They are just great snakes.
there's so many. Like I love, and I hate that I'm even thinking about this right now. I'm potentially going to give up my northern white lip. I'm fighting myself not to. But I really need to focus. I've let myself kind of get carried away again. So it's coming down to a couple of different things, but it's one of those things where like, you know, you're doing well and you love that animal, but is there potential? And northern white lips are one of the things that I really care about, because there's only a handful of breeders that do them in the United States, and we're really only like on F2, maybe F3 for most of them, right? So holding on to stock that's like an F2 is really important right now. So it'd be, even if I did that, it'd have to be in like the right person's hands that's gonna be able to breed it, gonna be able to do and make sure the bloodline stays pure and passed on, right? But I don't know, man. Like there's such a push, and with us getting ready to move, that's one of the things that scares me too. Like you've kind of experienced it, but how long was your move?
Oh, not long at all. We were literally uh, maybe half a mile. This is all we moved. But
You
coming out
moved
of the
from one side of the
enclosures,
border to the other.
yeah. No, we were actually when we started dating. Well, we had dated for years, but I wasn't going to move here to Denton. I was in East Texas until my daughters graduated from high school, and so Melissa had already had her own apartment here. So when we decided to build a house, we stayed in that apartment until the house was done, and we had a guest room, and that became our reptile room at the apartment. Everything rolled conveniently into the closet. Don't take these uh, advice from me for when we had any kind of inspections.
Oh, I've been a helper of many of those. Hey, let me store my rats in your garage for a day or so, or hey, let me store my snakes at your house for like 2 or 3 days so that I can get this inspection done. It's like, okay,
Yeah, it's not the wisest thing, but we knew we were making our way out.
no, I definitely feel that. What's with you being able to kind of share a decent amount of advice because you've been in the game again for a couple of years. You spent a lot of time with animals in the 90s. What's some of the things that you would like to tell either people coming in or people that are ready to branch out away from just ball pythons?
The biggest thing to me and the biggest help is do your homework, man. It's readily available on the internet. Watch species specific videos, books, whatever your thing is, and know what you're doing before you get the animal, and make sure you have what you need. Talk to anybody and everybody. I mean, bad information uh, or people's bad experiences, they're great to learn from, just as good as all good information. Uh, I I love people. I love this industry because I'm not breeding anything right now, but I, I, I these are my people. I would be devastated if I couldn't go to the shows and speak to all of these people that I only see a few times a year. It's like a big family reunion, and I love it, man. It's talk to everybody, be nice, don't get caught up in all the drama, and
That's
and
easy, unfortunately.
yeah,
Um,
and just have fun, man. Take care of your animals.
I love that. I love that. So I promised you about an hour and a half. I take care of the family too. Is outside of Instagram, is there other places where people can find you or they can kind of connect with you better? Or is Instagram kind of the go-to for you?
Instagram's the go-to. I'm on Facebook, Phil Thompson on there. If you want to send me a friend request, I, I, I'm all about visiting with people. I don't talk snakes much on there, but mainly on Instagram at Thompson Cold Blooded.
Awesome. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I hope so. Most of the people here are your family. So well, family and friends. I hope that you guys are following them. I know some of the people that are here for me. Hey, scoot your butt over there. Make sure you go follow him. Give him some love. Let him know that you came from here. Go ahead and leave that there for y'all. Make sure that you kind of take the time to give people their dues. I will admit this is one of the things that I messed up with, and I'm very very happy we finally talked last Arlington. Right? It was like
Agreed.
we've known each other for a little while. We've passed each other a few times. We have all kinds of mutual connections. I was like, man, I've never really actually talked to you,
And I
and
would
I felt
like
like
to
a dick
say,
for it.
and I would like to say that sometimes I think I might come off as unapproachable because when I get around, I turn my listening ears on, and I don't talk a lot sometimes because I'm trying to hear all of this knowledge that's floating around there, and I don't want to say something to make an ass of myself at the same time. So sometimes I know I was over at a little get together and I said something crazy and made everybody laugh. And they was like, I never expected the cut to come out of Quiet Phil's mouth. And I'm like, well, I'm not quiet all the time. I'll talk your ear off. I like to take it all in. And then when I get comfortable, I'll let loose.
Okay. Let's wrap it up with this. What's one thing from the shows that will always stand out with you?
Uh, from the shows, just like I said, as much as I love the reptiles, I love the friends and the camaraderie that I've built. Just my reptile family. That's the one of the biggest takeaways from it all. You know, I can, thanks to Morph Market, order anything I want from anywhere, pretty much, unless it's a retic from overseas. but uh, but yeah, you can't make those connections like I feel like I've made not being there in person.
Yes, sir. Y'all give some love up for Mr. Phil. I appreciate your time, brother. There's definitely going to be a lot more conversations between us. I'm sorry it took so long to finally get there, but I really appreciate your time tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as I did. Learned a little something about him. This is what this podcast is really about. And sometimes I will admit I lose focus on that. I love getting information out to y'all, but it's my way of kind of giving back to the community and getting to know the people behind the brand, because we see constantly so many brands on social media or even at the shows, and it's just you don't get to know that person one-on-one. And that's what I love about this. It gives us the opportunity to open up to each other and really get to know the people behind the brand. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Next week we're going to have another retic person. I don't know if I'm like setting myself up for failure on YouTube because all my people are ball python people. Maybe we'll knock some sense into you one day. Next week we have the reptile revival on. I'm really hoping both Brian and Kathy can be on. We're going to see with their work schedule how we can work it, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you tune in next week. Y'all stay blessed. Love you. It's been amazing.
Yes, thanks everyone.